blows my mind. Like, we like worked our way from the bottom to have like these really nice careers, thinking like, oh, this is it. Like, we finally made it, and we are still living paycheck to paycheck, like, and barely making it, literally stressing out about finances all the time.
Leading economic indicators are signaling a recession once again. And today we're going to go over several of those indicators and talk about how inflation is creating a kind of rolling recession that's knocking out mom and pop, which to me, what that really means is it's in and out of view of the general public. And with 67% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, it's not going to take very much for the remaining Americans to wake up. Now, losing everything has a tendency to force you awake. And regardless of the recent GDP numbers, economists are saying that almost half of the US states are already in recession. And once California joins that list, the entire country will completely collapse. Now, the most important thing about this video is that we give you guys enough ammunition to navigate your way through the debt and debauchery. We need to remind ourselves that we no longer have to accept being a victim from the crimes that are being committed against us. We need to stand up and remember our duties as citizens of the United States of America is to hold criminals accountable for the crimes they're committing against us, even if those crimes are being committed by officials. And having said that, you guys, welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. You guys already know that this video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Let's start by looking at the LEI, which is a combination of data, and that stands for Leading Economic Indicators. That is here and designed to warn us. This is going to take a lot of different information and put it all into one. And what this is showing you guys is negative growth rate over the past 6 months. We got 3 recessions reporting on this chart going back to the dot-com bubble. And you guys see, going back to the dot-com bubble, there's that little black line right there, which is the warning signal, and then the red line, which is the recession signal. So the red line is usually demonstrating that we're already in a recession, and the black line is demonstrating that it's right around the corner. Okay, so the crazy thing here, and this is again as a result of the inflation and the theft of our equity and the theft of our life and the liberty and pursuit of happiness. Look at this, guys. Without an official recession being called, we've already have 3 recession signals and 1 recession warning. Look at this. And it lasted a long time. This is when they created this first red line here, is when they created the Bank Term Funding Program and re-propped up the banking sector and re-propped up the economy. Now, that was followed by that black line right there. That was a warning. And then boom, once again, recession signal. We got out of the recession signal, but now we're back in the recession signal. So you can kind of see this dysfunctional rolling recession when we look at the LEI. This next set of data is the SOM roll recession indicator, which essentially anytime this gets to 0.5, it usually indicates that we're already in recession. This has always worked to indicate that we're already in recession, except going back to November of 1976 when this reached, and this is tracking unemployment. So unemployment went up by 0.5%. That is the only time that we weren't already in recession when this thing hit 0.5. Now look at what's happening right now. This went over 0.5 from July to September of 2024, but once again, we inflated, get it, our way out of recession. The next set of data we're going to look at is the 10-year versus the 3-month treasury. Now, this is an incredible set of data as well. This is going back to 1980s. And the important thing to understand about this set of data is when it inverts and then uninverts. Usually it uninverts right into a recession. And again, you go back to all of the other recessions here, you see that it inverted here and then uninverted right into recession. Same thing, the dot-com bubble, it inverted here and then uninverted right into recession. Same thing about the global financial crisis. It inverted here and uninverted right into recession. And you guys, we've been inverted, the 10-year and 3-month, for the longest time in history. And it's recently, and you guys see it right here, uninverted, and then it went inverted again, and then now it's uninverted. So again, it looks like a type of dysfunctional rolling recession. And right now we're uninverted. So it's likely that we're already in recession. This is new privately owned permits to build houses. And the reason I'm showing you this, again, recessionary indicator, the only time that this really didn't indicate that we were in recession when this was falling was in the mid to late 1960s. Every other recession has matched permits going down. The 1970s right here, you can see the run up and then goes down, permits go down into recession. And then we get out of recession, skyrockets up, and then goes down again into recession. Same thing here in the 1980s, goes down into recession, goes back up, and then once again down into recession. You kind of see that here in the 1990s, long time to go down right there into recession. You see that here a little bit in the dot-com bubble. It went down inside the recession. You see it the global financial crisis as well, going down into recession as well. You even see it in the COVID lockdowns. It went down into recession. And you guys, this has been going down for about 3.5 years. So this is going down again, signaling it's possible that we're already in recession. One primary reason for this dysfunctional type of rolling inflationary recession is what you guys see on your screen right here. This is representing the government passing the buck. This represents the government inflating prices. This represents the government stealing our children's money, or actually our unborn children's children's money, because it's impossible to pay this back. But yet we're suffering. And again, the reason why we're suffering and the reason why this has exploded like this is because Americans have forgot that we don't have to sit back and stay victims. We can stand up, be citizens, and do our duty, which is to try and do everything we can in our power to hold these crooks accountable. And I hope you guys do that by watching this video. But Mitch, my question for you is the primary, I almost want to say the only reason that we haven't been and stayed in recession, is that entirely because of inflation and everything that entails?
No. The reason why we are facing what we're facing, including the outrageous cost of everything, is a willing suspension of disbelief, including the idea that people will say we're not in a recession. That is a willing suspension of disbelief. So there was an accountant who discovered Bernie Madoff, and he discovered Bernie Madoff 4 years before the blank hit the fan. And isn't it interesting that he went to the SEC, and even the SEC suspended disbelief. They were willing participants because they believed Bernie Madoff, who was involved in NASDAQ, as in on the board, could not possibly be involved in a fraud. And people tend to want to believe what is the most simple thing to believe, including the SEC. The SEC is made up of human beings. Well, look at the net result of willing suspension of disbelief. Look at the result of what will be the willing suspension of disbelief, whether we're in a recession or not. The bottom line is the evidence is right in front of all of us. When you look at what it's costing right now today, being your food, your home loan mortgage, your property tax, your school district bonds, credit cards, student loans, auto loans, healthcare. Do you realize that every single one of these elements that you're being required to pay, you're not required to pay because of the fraud that's being committed? It's the willing suspension of disbelief of people not wanting to get involved because they simply say, this can't be happening. That's on the left hand. On the right hand, you're living it. You're seeing this. This is touching the lives of everybody in your family, your neighbors. It's happening. It's real. You can no longer sit back and say, well, this simply can't be. It is.
Mitch, but how do we help mom and pop believe the truth? And the truth is that our forefathers fought for us and for my children not to have to go through what we're going through today. The tyranny, the bigotry. It seems as though mom and pop has forgot that with unity, we can conquer all things. So how do we wake people up, Mitch?
Isn't it interesting that the schools don't teach civil rights? Every single person that's out there, what we're speaking of now, what Travis is referring to, is your civil right to protest what is happening to you. People don't know how to do it. We've literally spent the last year and a half penning this out to give people the evidence as to what's happening. And that willing suspension, meaning willing, they're willing to simply say somebody else will pick up the ball and run it for me. You can't do that. When I said all hands on deck, I meant all hands on deck. This problem isn't going to go away. It's going to get bigger. This is going to touch the lives of millions, tens of millions of people when all is said and done. And it is because nobody wants to put the fraud in a box and say, we're going to start peeling this back, which is exactly what ended up happening to Bernie Madoff, right? They brought a guy in, I believe his name was Picard, and that's what his job was, peel the fraud back. He reached into the pockets of those who got paid profits and took it out. That is what needs to happen. They've got to peel this fraud in its entirety with the school districts and the central appraisal districts. They've got to peel it back. But we're just two people on a video. We've got the evidence and we've got a support team, Leslie and everybody else behind us and the attorneys. But the point of the matter is that we can't do it on our own. We can't control what's happening in South Carolina or in Florida. Now, we do know what the pattern of practice is. And we've documented all this. And I'm in the process of documenting a major league, call it paper, call it book. It may be coming in the form of a book. But the point of the matter is everything we've got on our website, we're not selling you anything. We give you everything that's on that website for free.
Yes, sir.
With the idea of trying to help mom and pop. But you've got to pick up the ball. It's your civil right. It's your duty. And this is happening to you. These expenses that you're paying, you shouldn't have to pay it. You should not have to pay your portion of the fraud. Reasonable taxes, absolutely. But what's happening here is fraudulent taxes.
Yeah, and there's a reason why, and this is to you guys that are watching this, there's a reason why I tell you all the time how important you are. There's a reason why I say maintain hope. And there's a reason why I tell you guys we need your help, because that's reality. And the more people that we wake up to remind them that we are citizens of the United States and we have rights to hold these people accountable, the more change we can create and the faster that we can create the change. But it starts with us waking up and remembering our rights. And unfortunately, sometimes in order to wake up, we have to see the mistakes of others. And speaking of those mistakes of others being our elected officials, let me show you guys now. Let's listen to and watch 3 different videos so you understand what it looks like to be a victim.
I'm so tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I just waited for the mailman to show up so I could get my paper check in the mail that I've been waiting for weeks. So I could come to the bank and deposit it. But because I have negative money in my account, I'm only going to get like a little bit of it because I can only access $100 for the first day. So I'm probably going to have like $60 today. I haven't gone grocery shopping in probably a month. We have like no food to eat for dinner, except for like mac and cheese and ramen. I have $300 electric bill that's overdue. My phone bill's overdue. I just gave my husband my last paycheck from last week so we could pay the mortgage 2 weeks late. And in 10 days or 11 days, the mortgage for next month is due. So it's like this paycheck isn't even like, why do I even have it? Like they might as well take my paycheck and just send it to all my bills. Like what's the point in me even getting my paycheck? It's like annoying. Like I'm not going to see it anyway. Not only that, but in like 3 weeks, I have to pay for summer camp because school's almost over. So it's like, that's another $700-800 that I have to come up with to pay for summer camp. And if I don't pay for summer camp, guess who can't work because their kid is going to be at home with them? Me. So obviously that's going to be like a major to do. Like I can't not pay summer camp.
I am 48 years old and I am broke. When I say broke, I mean $0 broke, no money. And I am burnt out to the core, and I'm done living like this. I have worked in group homes and nonprofits for over 25 years now. I've poured my heart into my job, gave it everything I got, but I'm burnt out. I don't have any more to give. Between rising costs, bills, broken appliances, I hit my breaking point. I knew I had to try something different. If you're at your breaking point, comment enough.
There's nothing, and I mean nothing, that prepares you for a layoff. I was completely blindsided. I had no clue it was coming. I have been in marketing at a very large bank for 6 years, and I feel like I just got thrown away like a piece of trash. Quite a few coworkers reached out like, oh my God, like what happened? And I'm like, no answer. Downsizing, right? Whatever it is. it's really tough pill to swallow. And I have no clue what I'm doing. This is the first time this has happened to me. I immediately thought of my kids, my wife, like how we're going to make mortgage, how we're going to pay bills. We live paycheck to paycheck as it is. As a millennial, you know, I mean, look, fortunate working at a bank and doing marketing, but I don't know what we're going to continue to do over the next like few months.
Mitch, my question for you is how can this type of fraud, inflation, and theft create a civil war? But now I'm thinking there will never be anywhere close to a civil war because too many Americans aren't awake. But can you explain how this type of theft traditionally would potentially create a civil war?
What do you think is going to happen when the government shows up to steal and foreclose an entire subdivision? De facto, that is an act of war. The War of 1776, taxation without representation. And to that point, I just want to deviate a little bit, 2 degrees. I have a chef who's a very close friend of mine, and he called 3 days ago. They have over 2,800 employees. This is a major, major league operation, complaining that he recognizes what's about to happen in the next few weeks with regard to the healthcare. And he realized that why would my employees come to work, in essence, for free? And that young lady on that video made the exact same point. There's no money left in their pocket. What is the point of working if there's no money left? Who are they working for? And just this morning, the attorney in Washington told me about North Carolina, where they're in the process of acquiring $6.5 billion worth of medical debt, such that they're going to buy it at a discount and automatically default it, which means remove it from the backs of mom and pop. So I would put that under the category of emergency debt relief. Well, if you can do it with outstanding medical bills, then you can most certainly do it with something that's of magnitudes bigger, which is the fraudulent, outstanding real estate tax that results in the fraudulent school district bonds, which takes, give or take, 9% of the median household income gross out of mom and pop's pocket. There are things that can be done, but to the point that Travis is making, none of this is going to happen without your direct involvement. All hands on deck. This is crucial. This is going to gain speed, but nobody can do the heavy lifting for you. Every one of these people that's in those TikTok videos or wherever those videos are coming from, they need to be involved. They're the solution. They just don't know it.
And the viewers that are watching this are also the solution. And it starts with first understanding what we're saying, understanding what's happening. Most of America right now is working for debt and debauchery and not the pursuit of happiness and not liberty. It's to pay for the mistakes and reckless spending of other people. That's not what the American dream is about, guys. We need your help to hold these people accountable. Things are crashing right now and people are going to be confused on what happened, but we have to remember what happened and we have to hold these people accountable, because if we don't, then the same thing is going to happen to our children's children. Living paycheck to paycheck, you're not alone. 67% of people are living paycheck to paycheck in 2025. Is that not wild? They're saying everything feels more expensive right now. And I'm going to add to that, the reason why it feels more expensive is because it's mathematically more expensive. But there's a few reasons why. Persistent inflation. Consumers pay nearly, this is saying, and I don't believe this, 25% more for groceries in 2025 than they did in 2020. Not for my groceries. I must be buying all the stuff that are up like the maximum amount of inflation. I feel like my grocery bill is double, right? That's my feelings though. So comment below. Let me know, is your grocery bill double or is it only 25% more over 5 years? That doesn't make sense to me. Also, high housing costs. Absolutely high housing costs, property taxes, homeowners insurance, all that theft. The Census Bureau found that the median percentage of homeowners with a mortgage is overburdened. Renters, too, have seen an increase of 3.5% in rental costs over the past year. Uncertain job market. Although employee wages are up 3.6% from 2024 to 2025, okay, whatever. The unemployment rate in the US was 4.3% in August. Bottom line, while the majority of Americans now live paycheck to paycheck, many still feel optimistic about their finances. I don't know anyone like that, by the way. Anyone that's living paycheck to paycheck that I've talked to is definitely not optimistic about their finances. So I don't know what Investopedia is talking about, but this goes on because they've taken control of their spending, savings, and income. But no, they haven't. Not if they're living paycheck to paycheck. With a realistic financial plan, you can cushion your finances against unexpected expenses and eventually live comfortably within your budget. Economist Mark Zandi says 22 states are already in recession based on these two clear indicators. The US, according to this, is not quite in recession. In a recent MarketWatch report, Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody Analytics, said 22 of America's 50 states, including the District of Columbia, are already in recession. And if certain states start experiencing their own declines in growth, it could tip the entire country into a broad economic slump. Now, the states that are in recession, he's saying Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, Montana, New Hampshire, New Jersey, interesting, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Virginia, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, and Wyoming. One thing some of these states have in common is that they have farm economies that are doing poorly or manufacturing industries that have slowed down. In general, according to Zandi, any state that has an economy that centers on goods producing activities, agriculture, light manufacturing, or mining is not doing very well at the moment. He also points out and said that California and New York are two states that are treading water. And those are huge states, meaning they're not currently in a recession, but they're also not experiencing economic growth. Of either of those two states, economies take a turn for the worse, it could flip the entire US economy into recession, again, according to Zandi. Mitch, my next question to you, and this pertains to every American, but specifically it's really aimed towards younger Americans like Generation Z, because Generation Z has never gone through a labor market that has had turmoil. You now have to be in your 40s to have gone through the global financial crisis as an adult. So they're so unprepared, Mitch, but it's inflation sees no races, sees no political affiliations. It just sees our money and it wants it. So to those people, how do you prepare for a recession, Mitch, if you're already broke?
It's extremely difficult, if not impossible. The first problem is they don't understand what has happened. And a fast way to get there is simply look at a list of household expenses, which I went through a few minutes ago, and then realize, okay, over and above those expenses, certain things in there, such as healthcare. So 70% of all bankruptcies are a direct result of healthcare. That's a major, major problem, and it's about potentially to get worse in the next couple of weeks. All those expenses adding up ends up in people going hungry, more people going hungry because the income doesn't exist. So first thing is understand that list of expenses, what it really means, and can you afford it? Could you afford that rent in that apartment? Can you afford that house? And the government says, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, well, 28% is okay on the DTI, but you can go to 43%. Yeah, no, you can't. And it should be closer to 21, not 28. So the point of the matter is, and the reason why is the inflation. So the point of the matter is, on one piece of paper, if you could define what those expenses are and see where the problems are, and given the fact that the problems are the inflation, and the inflation is everywhere, right? Fraud has gone through the system. When property taxes go up by virtue of the fraud, that's fraud. Food goes up as a result of the property taxes going up. There's 7 elements of real estate tax in your cappuccino in the morning. It's all connected. Inflation is a hidden tax, and that is a fraud. And it will end up increasing hunger, and it will end up increasing crime. One piece of paper, mark it down, understand it, and then you can say, okay, what can I do to offset this? Does that mean that I have to move home with my parents. Does that mean that we have to move in with another family? There's options, none of which are good. None of this is good, but at least there's a roof over your head and there's food on the table. That's job one, is get that fixed so that the kids are protected. It's a very difficult problem. And that's why I brought up that issue about the emergency debt relief, and they can do it. North Carolina is proving they can do it. Well, if you can do it there, then you can do it in several of those other items as well.
Very good. Let's move on to your final thought, Mitch. And if you can, I want you to talk to the viewers, and I want you to remind them that they don't have to be a victim anymore. I want you to give them, if possible, it's your final thought. Can you give these people, Mitch, that are broken, some, many, hopeless, can you give them a call of action and tell them how to become a citizen and no longer be a victim?
Multiple things here. So job one, in order not to be a victim, is understand what the school districts have done. The school system itself is failing. It failed in multiple directions, not just the fact that many of the education processes are getting F. That's true. But also in the fact that they didn't teach everybody, all students, that you have rights, that you can go and protest these things. You can get involved on a group basis to make actual change. That's what we're doing. And to that point, a couple of days ago, we came out with a document called Motion to Compel the School District Boards and the School Superintendents. And that list is partially used by Kayla when she went to protest at the Godly Independent School District. Well, if you've got 30 or 40 or 50 people that show up to these school districts, that's going to make the boards at these school districts very uncomfortable. Multiply that by 4, 200. Multiply that by 2, 400. You put 400 people in a parking lot aimed straight at these school districts and these school district superintendents, you're going to make change. That is what is necessary. That is where we are, but that has to happen on all these levels. The biggest purveyor of fraud with regard to what we're speaking about, there's two of them, one of which is the Federal Reserve, which will get looked after on its own weight. But what we can do, what we can participate in at a local level is the central appraisal districts and the school districts. 400 people showing up at any one of those is more than enough to get the job done. You let them know very simply, you're going to make these changes. We've got the evidence. We're giving you in that motion to compel the questions to ask to obtain more evidence. But that's a mathematical and a legal issue. What we're saying here is a political issue over and above everything else. This is going to take politics to fix it. Nobody and no politician wants 100, 200, 300, 400 people standing at their front door saying you're either going to make this change or we're going to remove you. That's what this is going to take. It's political. And the fact that people have not been taught this lends to the apathy because they think somebody will come in and rescue them, and they can't. This takes a lot of people to move the needle, but that needle will move when you've got that amount of power. There's power in numbers.
There's a lot of power in numbers. And Mitch, and for the viewers as well, in the name of transparency, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm at my max capacity. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I am fighting the fight as hard as I can do it without being completely and utterly burnt out. And having said that, and again, in the name of transparency, the channel of Real Estate Mindset, it only continues to grow and thrive if you guys decide to stand up and fight for your liberty. The Real Estate Mindset channel dies if people aren't fighting. I want you guys to remember that. The growth is tied to you standing up and fighting for your rights. Now, other than that, guys, let's hold these people accountable together. Go to our websites, go to Mitch's websites, my website. It is all there for free for you. We need you. We love you. You are so important. And if you guys are out there just trying to fight corruption or live your life, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.